innovations around curricular review, curricular delivery, and even the mode. So we are also innovating around mode of delivery so that we are on the cutting edge. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. I would start with George here to simply tell us what are the areas that you are most, where the demand is most and where you are not finding the local resources.
Thank you, Professor. So I think essentially if we look at it, the IT team in Safaricom over the last 2 years has grown by 500 people. And that's in recognition that although we were a telco with a fintech, we want to be a technology company. And which are the skill sets? We're talking about data science, machine learning, software engineering at the core. I was talking to the father of a recent good KCSE student, and I said, no matter which program your son takes, you need to know how to code. And I know now we're talking about low code, but I think still coding is essential. So I think if we look at that, I think what's most important for us as a leader in the industry is to be part of the conversations, not at that point of hiring, but to come in earlier. And I like what Madam has said, that we need to be part of the curriculum conversation because, as you well know, Professor, sometimes we advertise for jobs. And our Chief Human Resource Officer, Paul, will tell you we struggle and we advertise and advertise and advertise again. But on the other hand, you're seeing very high unemployment in Kenya. And it's a paradox. How can we have high unemployment, lots of graduates, and Safaricom is not getting talent? So I think being part of conversations like this, because I think in conversations is where problems are solved, new ideas are exchanged, but also we find a bridge between what we're looking for and what's being produced. So we want to do three things. I think one is to see those specific areas. How do we influence at a curriculum level? Two, how do we participate in such, be it hackathons?
Recording in progress.
Thank you. Career talks and such engagements, but also how do we provide opportunities through internships? And the projects that students are looking at, the case studies, can they tell us, hey, give us an environment with your 40 million customers, anonymized, and let the data science students come up with insights around it that help us in terms of how we serve our customers and also the products we design. So there is indeed a challenge, Professor, but I believe these conversations are the ones that are going to help us reduce that gap.
Angela, be as honest as you can. Are our students industry ready? And what are the frustrations you go through when you recruit them?
Okay, thank you, Professor. And yes, I'm always honest. Let me just say that what we try to look for, there is a reduction in the gap between your academic knowledge and the benefits experience brings with it. So what we have experienced over the years, for me, for instance, I was in the marketing fraternity for a very long time, then I've now switched to digital financial services. Like Peter said earlier, there is no escaping technology. You must not only have an interest, but you may need to get some level of training so you can get comfortable in that space because it impacts everyone across every single industry. Now, I'm not expecting, of course, that someone fresh out of the university is going to have all the knowledge and expertise we require, but all we want is the right attitude and the right willingness level of, we say we hire for attitude, not aptitude, because it is critical that someone has the right attitude to learn, and there is no end to learning, professors, you can attest. There is no end to learning, so every single opportunity you can get to change how you look at your future, which industry should you play in, the gaps that George is talking about, the gaps we experience even as KCB. Right now, the technology business, the digital financial services business, we have huge gaps in product people, technology people. It's very distressing. And my worry is that I don't want us to feel it with people from outside the country, and yet we have Kenyans here who are ready to work.
Thank you. I think you've been very honest. I want to ask John, I have to say a story about IBM. We brought IBM research here. They couldn't get local engineers. And so we had to talk to Strathmore, which responded very quickly, and Georgia Tech to train 25 engineers to run the lab locally. They also have some resources which I want him to discuss because I refer all my students into your space. Can you brag around about the things that you do?
Thank you, Professor. Before I respond to the question that you asked, let me also just, because what I realize many times is people are not familiar with IBM. When I say, he mentioned IBM, but as a company, we're not a company that is out in the let's say, retail space. So IBM is a technology company, a global technology company, and our business is primarily on a business-to-business model. So we power the Safaricoms, the KCBs, 10 of the top global banks, 7 of the top 10 airlines, that's the business that we are in. This year in June, we'll be celebrating 111 years of the company's existence. So we are an old technology business. Innovation is at the heart of IBM. Think about all these years of innovation. This is really what has enabled us to exist over these years. So this is a very exciting space talking to our student audience because in Kenya, I think now we are recognized as a hub for talent. In the last few weeks, we've had a lot of international players setting up. As Professor mentioned, we have been here, actually this year will be 10 years of setting up the IBM Research Center here in Kenya. And IBM Research is, let me just talk a little bit about IBM Research. So IBM Research is the R&D unit within IBM, maybe the largest technology research organization globally. If I'm to brag, so for the 28th year in a row, IBM has been recognized in terms of the highest number of patents. So last year, I think it was 8,682,000 patents that we've put out, technology patents. So we're operating at that kind of scale, that level. A few months ago, we were criticized on social media. We were calling for internships at the research lab, and the requirement was PhD. So, people wondering, why are you calling for internships and you're asking for PhD level? But remember, this is an international industrial research center. So we're doing really high-level research. We're looking at technology, not now, but in the next 10 years. And that's the level of skill that we are looking at. But we did not stop there and say, okay, we cannot operate and we're only looking for resources from outside. So we said, let's work with the local ecosystem and help and that's really part of the mandate of having a research center in Kenya, is let us grow our research capacity to the level where we are now able to participate at a global level. And I'm happy to say over this 10-year period, those software engineers who came in at that time are doing work that is recognized globally. I mean, in terms of those patents that I'm mentioning that are being used by IBM, these are patents that have also been generated by researchers or software engineers who are Kenyan and who are local. So that is the kind of skill that at that time we were talking about it, and we are continuing to grow. My responsibility in IBM is to work with the educational ecosystem. So, and the reason why we do this is because we believe in working with the partners to really grow that capacity. So, many times people talk about the distinction between academia and industry, but we say, okay, let's work to bridge that gap. What do we do as IBM? We then make available all this technology that we produce and sell to all these big commercial clients and give them to the students. So all the students at University of Nairobi and any other university for that matter, we give you all this technology at no charge for you to use for your innovation and your research and skills development. And the reason why we do this, I mean, from a commercial perspective, yes, you can say we from a selfish perspective, we would like to grow the pipeline that will come to work in IBM research or in the IBM business, right? But more than that, we would also like the students who graduate to go and work for our customers, the Safaricoms and KCBs and so on. And more importantly, we also want the faculty to be using the latest technologies when they are carrying out their work of research and innovation to also make use of that and to contribute. To respond to the question that I think you had asked one of the colleagues before, one thing we would also encourage, in as much as we invite, we're developing capacity that's going to go to the market, we would also invite our faculty to also think about, let me not call them internships, but to spend some of their time to consider industry fellowships. So the faculty members who are training and teaching to go out, spend, I don't know, maybe a year or so, and just immerse yourself into the problems that the industry is trying to address, and then when you come back, you're also then able to channel that to the student. I believe when we close that loop, then we are also developing a pipeline that will not only feed the industry, but also enable the faculty to make sure that they're putting the right skills for those who are coming out of the system. Let me stop for there. Thank you.
I think, John, you said the right thing. I can see the private sector taking notes. And we are very lucky that our DVC academic is here, that you can give us 1 year to go and stay at Safaricom and see what they need. Then we come fresh to train. Dr. Mwansa, you've been, you are head of this innovation. Now you are outside. What are the gaps you have seen? What are the things you regret we should have done as academia, from the academia side?
Thanks very much, Prof. You know, when you were PS, I came to your office. That's many years ago. And I was a young faculty member in University of Nairobi. And sorry? And you asked a question about why University of Nairobi was not doing certain things. And my answer was, I don't know why the university is not doing such things. And then you went further and asked me, who exactly is that? Then I said, maybe the Vice Chancellor. And then you corrected me and said, you are the University of Nairobi. I will never forget that experience because it changed my attitude about everything I have done since then. I realized that I was the University of Nairobi, as junior as I was in that faculty. And that's how we started Nairobi Innovation Week until now. And I really took charge. And then I was asked recently to join government. And so I'm doing this thing of going out for a little while and come back and start a government agency on innovation. So it's called the Kenya National Innovation Agency. I reported in September 2020. I was the only one. Now we've grown upwards of 40 or so people. And we've prioritized 2 issues. One, strengthening the commercialization infrastructure of our institutions. I've gone to Cambridge, Calro, Isipe, universities. I've gone all over the place. There will be files and files of prototypes, but hardly a market that really impacts people. That's one issue. And it has a lot to do with how our institutions are structured from policy, practice, and culture, incentives, and so on and so forth. The second thing we've prioritized is the startup movement. And strengthening a startup movement has a lot to do with incubation programs, how well they are designed in a sustainable and scalable manner. We can have innovation hubs, not a problem. But the proper incubation process, in order for a little tiny idea to be carried forward until it's mature, is a second issue. So for me, there are 4 things in a way that I think to answer your question. And we've designed the Kenya Innovation Week that will be culminating all the Innovation Week efforts at the end of the year. And we did the one last year, 6th to the 8th of December, and we'll do 6th to the 8th of December this year. And we will see that as a culmination of all our innovation efforts. But I'll point 4 things. The first one, skills. You know, I can afford to speak from outside now, right? So the skills that we've just talked about in terms of how we are adapting to the quickly evolving market environment. I think in the academic setting, I think we're not moving as fast. And that also has a lot to do with how well does academic connect with industry. If I were to sample right now, how many of us have been to a private sector event in the last 1 month? I barely get one person raising up their hand. Thank you. So it's countable. But how will we know the need unless we are going there? Question, big question. So skills is one thing, and it's a very broad conversation there. I think the second one is the embracing of technology. And driving that technology from a faculty perspective and then diffusing into the students. The third is the spirit of commercialization. You know, having ideas, and I keep saying it all the time, fall in love with problems, not ideas. Having a deep internalization of the problems and immersing ourselves into truly understanding the actual challenges we face, and then thinking through our design thinking, user-centered design methodologies, problem-based learning, moving towards solution. I feel that there is not a strong commercialization mindset. I ask a simple question. How many of us have an appreciation of intellectual property exploitation? If you ask students, roughly, on average, probably not many. In China, they will tell you at elementary school, you will take a course on IP. Not because you're going to create an IP, but at least you have the mindset. And then that way it becomes part of your DNA. When we hear students saying, oh, I lost an idea to so-and-so company, X, Y, and Z, I go, well, but if you were not wired to protect the idea properly, why would we blame the system for stealing it? It's also more the commercialization mindset. And finally, is building for startups. You see, the DNA of the university, in my view, should be more and more how do you build enterprises out of students and out of faculty. When I was still a faculty member, now 2 years gone, I remember 2 of my first-class students coming to me and say, we want to build a startup. And they did, and for sure they're very successful. When I look back, a typical first-class student thinks about getting a scholarship and becoming a professor. Well, I asked those 2 students, why did you do that? Why did you think like that? They said, we realized that we are smart enough that we can tackle the process of building an enterprise. And I said, I bless you and I support you. And they are doing very well. So the DNA of the university needs to be strengthened more and more into build for enterprises. Just wire yourself to do that, and let's get the support you can. And then finally, in terms of the support system with universities to build enterprises out of students, I like the idea of establishing incubation hubs and innovation hubs. And Prof, before you leave your office as DVC, make sure you have a strong incubation hub and a technology transfer program. Because then you have the support mechanism. If today I were to ask a student who has graduated out there and doing very well in terms of their startup, then I ask them, how did the university support you? Neither here nor there. Thank you.
Thank you for being very honest. While they are thinking, the president of students is here. If you can't attend here to know what the industry wants, I can't see students. What can we do to get them interested?
Thank you again for this opportunity, even though I was hoping that I will not have to address this, but to be frank, we have a problem with the young people, a problem of interest and curiosity and agility. And during the break, I got involved with Mr. Paul and Mr. Andrew, and they were telling us, you know, we are looking and we are coming to you and searching instead of you coming to us and searching even when we bring it. And I think if we look into the generation that you're addressing, there's more of the things that interest. There's more of maybe we should have used influencers for such an event, or we would have used other more interesting things. I agree, but I would also like to ask the question, what is this about? Is it about you laughing And is it about you giggling all the time and you having fun and taking pictures? Or is it about something as serious as building a career? We will not always laugh in the boardroom. If today you become a manager or you're taken into Safaricom to be a tech person, how is your day going to look like? Are you always going to get in the office and then you want someone, you want maybe Njugush to always make you laugh? You're going to get into work. It's about what you are willing to do, and if we are going to have to fall in love with problems, like you said, we have to know areas of which we can find these problems. Sometimes you have to find a problem for you to be able to solve it, and for you to be able to get solutions which can give you a career. So yes, it's it's on our part that we need to mobilize students more and to educate them on the need to attend such forums. But I would also like to encourage, I believe there are some students watching virtually, because some of them are home, some of them are in campuses that are not here, and I would like to encourage them that should you get this forum, break a leg and come here. Because you never know. I mean, we keep asking ourselves, why are the firms now taking students from other universities? But Mr. Paul has just told me that if he was in Strathmore right now, the auditorium would be full. And I feel embarrassed for my own people. But this is not to discourage anyone. As the University of Nairobi Council, for the next 1 year, we are committed to creating agility, and we are committed to making students come back and to encourage them that these things actually do work. And I assure you, for the Safaricom, that by end of this year, majority of the student or the majority of the people you'll be taking for the graduate programs will be University of Nairobi students. But also I have gotten reports that they're watching virtually. So as we are trying to get some to come, let's continue, but we are together.
I asked because Paul is seated here and looking at our behavior. So persuade him. Now, we want to move slightly. I want to ask Professor Hutchinson, as we stay seated here, the cameras are still on us. Then she would call on someone and then we proceed.
Thank you very much, Professor, for a great moderation. At this juncture, I will allow my panelists to still sit a little bit, because what we are going to hear is very much making it practical, making it happen in 2022. Allow me to invite Dr. Bimal Nakantaria, the CEO of Elgon Kenya, to come and tell us about this Elgon Kenya University of Nairobi partnership, making it real, making it happen. Thank you.
Five minutes. I will finish in 5 minutes, very quickly. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to our peers from youth, various panelists, and chair of the session. My name is Bimal Kantari, as Professor Hutchinson said. I'm the managing director of a company called Elgon Kenya Limited. We do agriculture inputs. We've been around since 1898, Bwana Peers. The company started by my great-grandfather and always been in this country. I'm the fourth generation in my company, and the company is growing and getting stronger. We're in 5 different countries around East African region and doing roughly the same stuff of supporting the Kenyan farmer. I've been told to keep it real, so I will. We're talking about innovation. So innovation in real company sense is the heartbeat of any organization's growth. There's saying either you innovate or you die. And that is quite true, particularly in these extremely fast-moving times when information flows and decision-making is done 24/7. So if you're not innovating and you're not moving ahead of everybody else, you can be in real trouble. You can have different views on innovation. I looked at 3 in particular. I said, there's one is the physical or the digital innovation. We know about mobile phones, we know about internet, we know how, we can, using the web, things can move quite quickly. And that's an easy one to look at. And we've all, as I'm sure as individuals, been quite active on social media and all that. So that's one part of digital. I know Safaricom is here, and obviously the market leaders in that subject. But I want to digress a little bit away from it and say, how does digital affect my business? So a couple of years ago, because we are in so many different countries, we had to come to an interesting platform, which is cloud-based. We use SAP. Some of you know the program SAP ERP package, where we are now completely as a company on the cloud, and we can access our information in any part of the world. Even sitting on the beach in Mombasa, I can access my company information, and the company performs. Even sitting down here, I was able to see what my company is doing right now and make decisions online. There's physical innovation, how to innovate new products. If you look at agriculture, whether you like it or not, this country, 2/3 of the economy is agriculture-based or agro-processing-based, and it's incredibly fast-moving. Some of you may know, I know PS comes from Narok. PS, there are farms in your area where they have $1 million combine harvester which works only on GPS. In fact, you don't even need a person on that machine. It can do the whole farm, 10,000 acres, just by somebody programming that machine, and it cost $1 million. That's how fast innovation is happening in this country. And then you have another scale where there's obviously domestic farming or small-scale farming, which is, again, innovating very quickly. You came to my stall a few minutes ago, and you saw what I was doing with the small farmer. You asked a lot of questions about drip irrigation. So a few years ago, as a company, we decided we were very much focused on large commercial farmers, the Naivasha farmers, the horticulture and floriculture farmers. But I was missing the bulk of my customer base. There's 3 million small farmers in this country. We weren't targeting them at all. So about 5 or 7 years ago, we said, let's focus on the small-scale farmer. Let's open our business up. So we had to reinvent the company. We had to innovate. We had to bring new products in. We brought in small packs. We brought in drip irrigation. We now manufacture drip irrigation as a company. And we had to reinvent the whole distribution network. How do we get my product, my small chemical, to every single farmer in this country at the village level? So we've had to be really creative, and I can proudly say, for instance, that my Tabithi fertilizer, I must be supplying, every 5th farmer must be using my fertilizer today. We've had to really reinvent the company and innovate. And it's been successful. So my core business, which is the large commercial farming, that's been extremely good. It's been growing. But I've added 50% extra growth to my company by just targeting the small farmer. Innovation is where the secret is. Innovation is where the key is, and bringing new products and ideas to the market and new processes. So we've grown the company. The pie has become bigger just by us having new ideas in the system. Again, I'm trying to keep it as real as possible. I know some of you are going to graduate soon. And finally, I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing with the Nairobi University innovation. So for me, it was more of a psychological barrier. I was retransforming myself, Professor, as you know. And I've said this story a couple of times to you and to Professor Kiama. A lot of you graduates have come to my office, and we did the interview with you, and I think the lady from KCB mentioned, you guys are extremely book smart. You can't beat Kenyan universities, particularly Nairobi universities, when it comes to knowledge. When you all graduate from the universities, you will know everything technically. You'll know from the book how to do it correctly. But very few of you have hands-on knowledge or what's happening in the market. And I said to myself, either I sit back in my office and complain on Twitter that nothing's happening in this country and blame the government for every problem in this world, or I get off my back and do something about it. So I approached Professor Kinoti, and I approached Professor Kimani and Professor Kimenju, and I said to them, how is a company, mine is not a particularly big company, when you compare yourselves with the Safaricoms and KCBs of this world, mine is a medium company. I said, how do we change the paradigm? And when I approached the university, I said, why don't I take the step of setting up an agriculture innovation and technology center? And Professor Kiama, I don't know if you all know him personally, but that man's a visionary. He's very fast. And very quickly, we drove down to Kibeti campus, and he identified a site. And we now have a very strong technical committee chaired by Professor Kimenju, and in my company, we've got a team of architects from Beglin Works, a very famous architect company. And we've now designed the center. In fact, yesterday, Professor Hutchinson, the drawings have now been approved and the plans are ready for implementation. I think we're just waiting for Professor Kiama to sign it off. The center is going to cost us 40 million shillings, and it's part of my CSR. We're going to donate the center to the university, and we're going to fund it. And before anybody says anything about what my motives are, my motives are purely CSR. I don't intend to make profit from this one, but I think it's important to give back to the country, particularly to the youth of the future. So we're going to make the center, we're going to donate to the university. Of course, university land is theirs, and the center will be run by the university, so they obviously have a big financial commitment as well. But I think this is going to be the place where we bridge the gap between what we're talking about today and reality on the ground, where my friend from KCB and Safaricom keep talking about. Where is the bridge? Where do we connect the youth, the students, and private sector? And I'm hoping that this center will bring in innovation and ideas from our side to the university students, and from the students to us. You know, I keep hearing lots of stuff today as well in the morning when I was having coffee with some of you professors. They have these amazing ideas. We talked about mangoes outside, but none of this has been commercialized. It's sitting in somebody's drawer. It's ideas sitting in one of your heads, in your students' heads, but it's not being commercialized. How do you make profit from it? And I'm hoping that this center will bring private sector companies like myself, Cooper Kenya, you know, there's the Caterpillar, tractor people, drones is a big subject now. How do we bring all of these people to come and showcase what they do, and then you tell them what's in your mind? So somehow we can bridge the gap between academia and private sector. And I'm pretty sure this sort of hub is going to be a really interesting place, and I know my friend, the director here from the Innovation Center, Tony, you're going to be part of this, I hope. You seem like a really switched on guy, so I'm hoping that you will somehow, a professor, link in with us. I see IBM is smiling here, but IBM is very important as well. You need to link on with us. You have to put money and time, KCB, Safaricom. 2/3 of your customers, whether you like it or not, are in agriculture. So whether you want to know it or not, you have to play the game. You have to be in agriculture, and really is an important part. And I know KCB has a very big lending portfolio to, and could be better, by the way, to agriculture. So we really need partners like yourselves to be part of this innovation center. If you can transform these minds, imagine the future of your companies, right? So I'm offering, on behalf of Professor Hutchinson and Professor Kiama, for companies like yours to come and partner with us. I know PS looks very excited. He's a calm man, but he's smiling inside, saying, well done, Elgin, Kenya, this is the way to go. And then the other one that was interesting, which I also thought was lacking, was graduates come out of universities, and the first thing an employer asks is, have you had any practical experience in a private company? And most of you will say no, or I have a little bit. And it's a big gap between us and students. So I said, why don't we, as a company, employ 20 graduate interns every single year, every single 6 months, which we did. We launched the program last month in Professor Kiama's boardroom upstairs, and I think PS Muya was there, and Madam Ruth Kage from State House was there, and we launched together with Professor Hutchinson. And those 20 interns, PS, are now in my company right now. They joined us about 3 weeks ago. We gave them so we gave them a week's training, and the last sort of week, 10 days, they've been actually in the field with my staff, and we're training them hands-on. And PS, you met one of the ladies outside. She was in my stall. The young lady who was talking to you was actually one of the interns who now is working in my company. But you see how smart she was, right? I mean, the way she talked to you confidently and without any nerves, that's what a Nairobi University student is. And, you know, we should be very proud of the kids who are coming out from this university. So I hope it's going to work. For us, it's work in progress. It's not free labor. We're going to pay, we are paying the students 25,000 shillings monthly salaries. I hope that'll, you know, cover their expenses. But that's not important. Important thing is we give them some training, hands-on experience on how to work in a company, discipline, you know, get up in the morning, come to work exactly at 7:30 in the morning. You better be there or we'll deduct your salary. All these things are important, discipline, right? Work the whole day and go home and feel proud of what you did. So I hope some of these life skills are also going to be taught to the kids. And at the end of the 6 months, some of them will obviously join my company, and some will hopefully find decent jobs and better jobs than mine. So this is where what do you say, the get it real? I'm trying to get it real. by saying we can actually do it. We can sit here and talk, or we can complain on Twitter that government is not doing it. But I think companies like mine, KCB, Safaricom, IBMs of this world, you're all doing it, I know, and I think we can all do it together. So thank you very much indeed for inviting me. I really wish you much success in this Innovation Week, and good luck to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ebu, come and sit here with us, please. Thank you. Asante sana. I think it deserves a better clap than that. We have had a great man in our, as our moderator. I want to ambush him a little bit and ask him whether it is true that he's going to be an ambassador in Belgium and what he is taking, because the University of Nairobi has been a mentor in the higher education sector and also going out there into the government and everything. So Professor Bitamgo, Ndemu, what is that one thing that you are taking to the international community from the University of Nairobi? As I call Paul Kasimu to come and give us a 10-minute high pitch for the masterclass on employability in the digital age and future skills. Professor Bitange, you've been an amazing mentor for many. Tell us what you're going to take out there. We'll miss you, but I think with now internet, we can talk. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. If I survive past September, I can do a lot more. What probably most people don't know, I was one of the expert panels in the development of the EU AI principles. Now they are working on AI laws. The first attack I had on the student leader is that the profession of law is going to change because of AI. If you see what George are doing from Safaricom, they are utilizing AI very extensively. Lending on the platforms, algorithms are working. KCP is moving into algorithms. The question is that what if an algorithm has a bias which nobody sees? It would cause chaos throughout. So the moment this was announced here, some of the people who are congratulating me are the people we worked with in EU. And this is, you are welcome so that we can work as a team to help Africa begin to understand the impact of these emerging technologies. So because usually when you talk to former ambassadors and ask them, what is your role? What do you do as an ambassador? There is one sentence they say, you just learn on how to lie about your country. So I am not going to follow that myself. I'm going to pick one area that would assist both the university and the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. So on behalf of this great team, I want to thank our moderator, Professor Bitange Ndemo. I want to thank George from Safaricom. Honorable Charles Sunkuli, our PS, Caroline Mukira, General Manager IBM, representing her, Tony Omwanza, our own CEO, who will make one statement. But I think from what I hear, my heartbeat tells me that we need to declare, you know, in the university they say publish or perish, but we are saying innovate or perish. As University Dawn, as a student, as a Kenyan, innovate or perish. That was what I was hearing, that this is very urgent, this is the time, this is the place. So I'll allow Tony to make one statement, and then after that my panel can go down, and then we'll have just a 5-minute, 10-minute conversation from Paul Kasimo as we catch up on our time. I think we are doing very well. So you will wait a little bit so Tony can say a statement, and then you will come. Thank you very much. Do you have a mic, or I give you this one?
I could use this one. Sorry to really disrupt a little bit, but you know, I spent a little bit of time in university, so I understand the university dynamics and challenges. And then I've spent a little bit of time in government, and while in university, I did a little bit of private sector kind of work. When I try to project 10 years down the road, and by virtue of the role that I serve, the mission statement of Kenya National Innovation Agency is to develop and manage a national dynamic innovation system that facilitates taking ideas to market. I sleep over that mission statement. And while I try to build this institution, I ask myself, what would 10 years look like in the context of innovation in the country? And I think about universities. The challenges you've just described about demand, skills, and so on and so forth. Then I look at the trends of funding of universities, all right? And because you need funding in order to do that foundation, to build and have all the tools that you need and so forth, I see a little bit of a danger sign. That there's a big threat about how we might look down the road. And this is the message I would have for IBM, for Safaricom, for KCB. The university is going to need private sector in order to thrive and deliver on her mandate. There is no question about it. And if we stand outside and challenge some of the things that we see in terms of output, we are part of the solution. And in my best way, I think about it, because I don't see government investing more and more heavily. I see private sector being able to do that. And I see that the solution is let's dig in deeper. Sponsoring events like Innovation Week is amazing. Sponsoring a hackathon is amazing. But one of the greatest things we must do is to strengthen the institutional systems for innovation in a sustainable way. That way, 10 years down the road, we don't have anxiety about what's going to come out. These are our universities. They don't belong to somebody else. It's our universities. And we have to dig in deeper and support a lot more in form of what? Programs like incubation and innovation hubs. Thank you.
Sana, thank you very much. Yeah, we could have said much more, but I think we are running out of time. Yeah, because I think even when you look at the government supporting the universities, they'll give you the workload, and every university will do a timetable for teaching. Nobody does any timetable for research. So it's just left to individuals. So I did some data last year, only 4.1% of the university academia were doing research as PIs. So we are in a serious crisis as universities. Very little research is going on, and they will tell you publish or perish. They will tell you the workload is. So we are very busy doing timetables for teaching, but nobody for research. So the partnership is actually needed urgently now. But as I said, Tony said, this is our country, this is our university, this is our destiny as a people. So again, I can see he's burning. Do you want to say something as we go down?
DVC is here. We would be in chaos if we don't plan.
If we don't give him an opportunity.
If we don't plan for CBC.
It's true.
Because the mindset is different, and the mindset of lecturers is different. You will be just solving disputes outside here.
Professor Ogengo, do you want to make a statement, my brother, by my other mother? As the Deputy Vice Chancellor in terms of academic affairs, we've touched quite a bit about curriculum, about this. That is your baby, that's your docket. Do you want to make a statement even where you are?
I'm not the one who did that. It's
okay. He's ever ready.
It's okay. My dear friends, partners, and my dear students, I can only say I'm excited. This issue of data science, there will be some curriculum with your involvement ready in the next 3 months. And I would be calling upon you and requesting you at the same time to consider sponsoring some form of summer school on this matter, so that students can take some modular courses in over 3 months or so, those who are interested, and they come out, we begin to prepare for it. 1,000 scholarships ready, my students.
Yes.
Direct on the floor.
When I got frustrated with Omwansa School, I talked to some group to issue, they are going to educate 1 million Africans in data science, and they were going to use foreign universities. So if you start the program, because I am involved, I would say 10,000 of those scholarships come here.
Excellent. And with regard to your last comment, Professor Ndemo, CBC, I am leading a small team that commences the preparations for that CBC when he's with us in 2029. We will be ready. We have started the preparations. Thank you very much.
Prof, as you, I mean, it's quite scaring to say that research take the back seat in the university. I think the universities, particularly this one, need a deep dive, a thorough discussion on how to enhance research, because without research, we cannot go forward. Yeah.
That's where we were in, all at the same.
Yes,
I've been given 10 minutes, I'll take 5, because I'm between you and lunch. I would have given you perhaps a little bit more, but just to acknowledge what is happening. I remember several decades ago, I came here for my induction when I was joining University of Nairobi, and I was doing economics, sociology, and then obviously thereafter I left and joined actually several industries. But I was asked today to just give you a snippet on employability and future skills. And as I sit here, I'm asking myself, what would it take just to say one or two things? I sit in a university council, and actually I chair the talent committee. And if you ask me what are we suffering from, I'll say 3 things. If we can equip our people with mindset, skill set, and tool set, just 3 things. Mindset, skill set, and tool set. For those of you who are listening, and I'm told there are many listening, Melvin, that is really very diplomatic. You should join Professor in his diplomacy. One of the things that I normally remind my team, and as Peter said, first we have said we want to be a purpose-led technology company. 6,000 employees. George spoke to, so I've been there for 5 years. In the last 18 months, I've recruited over 500 graduates, technology graduates. I'll tell you, the last 2 weeks, I got the first cut of 30 discovered trainees. I'll not say how many came from University of Nairobi. But one thing is very consistent: mindset, skill set, tool sets. And the question I have for you, University First, is how much of that is being influenced at the moment? Professor Kiama spoke to 3 things: knowledge, skills, and research. And that's absolutely perfect. But one of the things, and I chaired the Institute of HR Management for like 10 years and got the act in place. And the one thing that I've seen consistently is the disconnect that exists. I think there's more talk now. I think there is hope, but I think it is not fast enough, which is why we are here today. I think there's a lot of lip service. I see a lot of officialdom. In the morning, this hall was full. People left. And those are the guys actually who look for jobs. And I look at it and I say, that's number 1. Angela spoke to attitude. I tell people I hire for attitude and train for aptitude. Show me your learning agility and then I will engage with you. But like a priest, when I preach, even if it's one converted, I think that's good enough. You don't have to convert the whole multitude. Let me speak to about 3 things. And first is just about the generational industrial revolutions. So the first one was in the 1700s or 1800s, which was the very first one, the steam engine and mechanization. Then later we saw more of the 20th century, there was a mass production division of labor, Taylor was one big one when I was doing both my economics and sociology. Information age came in, which was the computer age, and now we are in the digital age. We have about 5 generations in the workplace, and I will add a 6th. There's a traditional generation which was more of before the baby boomer, the silent generation, which has been there. They were born up to 1946. Some of them are chairmen of organizations. But then the baby boomers came in, Generation X, millennials, and now we have the gig society, which is what we are looking at. But there's another generation I define as the perennials. And perennials are those who reinvent themselves, those who become relevant irrespective of what the situation is. But some statistics that I thought I would share with you briefly. Did you know that more than 1 billion jobs will be transformed by tech in 10 years? More than 1 billion jobs will be transformed by technology. 50% of employees need reskilling, and that's one of the things I've done with my team. One of them is the gentleman who took you through the first bit on what we are doing, the 9 skills. And we've done about 3 cohorts of about 60 to 90 actually. And of the 300, George will tell you, we have placed 95% of them in new roles. And we are looking at how do you build proficiency. So I think that's one thing that you need to have in mind, and especially those of you present or watching. The point is 20% shortfall in workers is being forecast by 2030. 20%. Prof spoke to this. We have an unemployment in a situation where we can't fill some jobs. Chinua Achebe wrote and said, water, water everywhere, and not a drop to take. That's how I describe the current skills bit. I think the bit about the recruitment challenges, we are finding 75% of all organizations say they can't get the right people. Yet, when I go to the village, I'll meet a beeline of people saying, my son, my daughter. I think we got it wrong in a certain period, and I don't want to say when the rain started beating us. When we killed the mid-level kind of skill development technology institutes, the TVETs, I think that's a welcome piece. When you hear Elgon speaking, Mr. Kandari, I say, you don't need knowledge, you need skills in your bit. And I think that's where we lost most of it. But I'm not here to judge the system. And by the way, when you drive, you don't look back, you look forward. So it's to say, your day starts when you wake up. We've woken up, let's see whether we can deliver something in our time. And that's how the future will judge us very harshly. I think I'll speak to 2 things and then I'll sit down. What we are looking for at the moment, if you asked me, is how we can then, and I like this, in my strategy, so we've said Safaricom in the next 3 years, we want to be a purpose-led technology company. 2 things. Purpose, because we believe purpose and people before profit is our mantra, it's our DNA. And we would want to then say, how do we then look for like-minded organizations? It doesn't have to be a big organization. Prof is in the board, and we were talking about skills. I think there was a talk around, if you look at the hubs that are being set up here, we have about 3 coming in. And one of the players, and I will not say who, set up opposite my people. So it was very hard for my people not to see a brand coming in. So now, if I'm going to go into talent war, I know the war for talent was won by talent, not organizations. Talent will go. And it's not a prize war. So what we've now said is that we want to train for the industry as Safaricom, as part of our purpose. And I've put in my contract this year, I would want to have 1,000 Kenyans fully equipped to compete in the industry, which is fintech. So we will be now, and Peter did talk about that. And I don't want to preempt this, but later this month we would want to launch that and look for organizations that can provide support. And we want to do it in about 4 stages. One is partner in curriculum. I think that has been said. Professor Hutchinson said that quite heavily. 2 is about what you talked about, the internships. Actually, before internship is mentorship. I'm more than happy to provide that. Then we go to mentorships. Then we go to internships. And then hackathons, because part of what George was speaking and Andrew here is we want to provide the Innovation Week, everything we have to grow the skills beyond knowledge. And if we can partner, so we will be reaching out to all of you, including corporate, and see how we can make this a reality. You don't have to be a software engineer to do some of these things, is my bet. Let me come to the end of it, and I will say, you saw earlier on the skills that are emerging. Industry ready will mean AI and machine learning is a big thing. We are seeing more of that, rightly so, because the new resource that we have, Prof will tell us, is information. So data, you mine it, and we'll share with you later in the week. We'll share how data can start even going beyond prescriptive, descriptive, diagnostic, to more predictive and prescriptive, and obviously AI as an analytics. Internet of Things, big data and analytics, data scientists, I can't get enough. We are looking for that, and we are saying, why can't we partner? So when I hear Kenya Institute of Innovation speaking, I say, let's go for it. We started a hub, technology hub, innovation hub, and we looked for big data scientists and big thinkers. And we are saying, where are the universities? Why can't you stand to be counted? And it doesn't have to be in the street where you're singing and partying. It is creating your future. I think we're seeing cybersecurity as a big thing, cloud computing, but fintech is where we want to even look for people who can help us grow the future. Robotics and process automation. So there are big things. We'll come back and we'll engage with you. I think the big thing that I'm finding lacking, knowledge is there, but when you look at the craft levels, the skill levels, certification levels, when we call upon you to help us is beyond associate, practitioner to more professional and experts. We'll be talking to you more. But in the meantime, I will say, and I will remind you, especially the youth in the hall, mindset, skill set, tool set will differentiate you from the rest. Thank you for your attention.
Just come here. There is something else for you. So let's appreciate him further. Thank you very much. I would like the technical team to give us mic here. There will be a Q&A session, and I've asked Andrew to come and take us through that Q&A briefly, and then we can go for lunch, just briefly, so that our students can actually understand when he talks about the skill set, when you talk about the mindset, the attitudes. You need to break that down to us, because we are actually packaging the youth for the industry. Thank you. Andrew, take it up, 1 or 2 questions, and then we can finish. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. So we are going to the Q&A section, and I'll just reiterate. I'd like to reiterate some of the things Paul has spoken about, especially the Industrial Revolution. When you think about, we've come from 1, 2, 3, 4, now we are talking about 5, but I think we'll be short of numbers. So we are talking about Industry X now. Industry X just means now we are back to humanity. How does technology come and integrate seamlessly with humanity? So you might have heard something called the metaverse, which is simply, and if you're thinking about future careers, it's how you seamlessly integrate your physical and also the digital world. So at this point, I know we've had many sessions from morning until now, and we've had Paul. So we are going to take a few questions, either from online or from yourselves. And as you heard, Paul is the chief person to look for if you want to get employment at Safaricom. So please feel free to engage, and maybe I can put your chairperson on the spot. You can actually start. Please encourage your students to ask the questions. I just want you to ask one powerful question, and maybe we'll take two more from the panel. Okay, before you go, there is one question there. Yep. So tell us your name, what you're studying, perhaps what your passion is, and then ask your question.
Because of proactivity, let me move close to where I can be seen. You know, you mentioned it's important to be proactive.
And for agility, talk.
Yes.
As you're walking, talk. Yes.
Exactly. So my name is Anduvate Jefferson. I graduated from the School of Engineering. I did a Bachelor in Science, Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to address this congregation. So my question goes to Paul. You talked about mindset, skill set, and tool set. And we've heard a lot about artificial intelligence. So we've had a lot of digital transformation. But one thing I haven't heard is emotional intelligence, how to create an enabling environment for all of these things to thrive. So Safaricom has been voted the best employer a couple of years running. What are the policies in place? What is the culture in place that enables this growth mindset, this upskilling mindset, and this appreciation of skill sets, so that other companies can borrow, and as well as students, we can begin to position ourselves in those environments. So thank you so much.
All right, so Jefferson, that's a great question. Let me first say, when I talk of mindset, what we are looking for is the can-do. Somebody said, I think it was about where you look at problems as an opportunity. And it's just how you're wired. The worst thing I find in Kenyans, and let me stand here, I think this would be better. Andrew, you field the questions. I tell people that Africans never die of natural causes. It's always the neighbor who has bewitched them. And the victim mentality is one that has kind of messed most of us. And that mindset then is, for instance, when you hear there's an innovation week and there are players coming in, what is the prevailing mindset in the university? I find the DVC is more concerned about it than you are. And I say, why are the bereaved not crying? The others, neighbors, are the ones crying more than the bereaved. And I think that's the first thing about, maybe it is how we've brought up you as our kids. But speaking about the combination of mindset, skill set, tool set, it's about how do you, in your journey, start picking some of those as you go along. Let me speak about what we've done, because you've asked about the culture we do. First, we believe in the spirit. Peter spoke about the spirit of Safaricom. 4 components, I'll remind you. Customer obsession, purpose, collaboration, and innovation. When we say customer obsession, then we are saying everything, customer is at the front and center of everything we do. Purpose is who we are, and we are led by the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, where we say purpose, people before profit, is what has kept us going. Now, when you look at collaboration, is where we get it done all together. And then finally, it's also around how we fail forward. We've just introduced agile ways of working. Agile is about setting up teams that are around solving a problem or an outcome. And I've simplified it to a point of fault. But it's where you have teams that are empowered, they are autonomous, self-managing, and they deliver. Now, that's the culture we've tried to build at Safaricom, which is why, if you asked me, I think we are setting up ourselves for future play. And you know what? Before I joined here, I had 6 years running HR at EABL. And we had about 7 markets that were there. And it was different from the 5 years I ran HR at Kenya Airways, or the many that I ran in Barclays. And what I found consistent, anybody working in any organization comes from a home. So the home is the first unit where some of us wake up, some go to the university, others go somewhere else. So the bit about mindset is a big one. And as an executive and career coach also, one of the things that I'm looking at is to say, what would it take? Let's not point fingers. The fact that you're not here, you're telling us something. So what we need to do to help you come and fit. So when you come to Safaricom, I'll tell you we hire for the DNA. And you talked about emotional intelligence, and then I'll sit down. One thing that we've now introduced is looking for potential. There are two ways of looking at talent, and I'll give you just two because I've used two different tool sets. One is about judgment. This is analytical rigor. Drive, where you get it from within, not externally. So your purpose should be the one driving you. And influence, how do you influence? Is it push or pull? I call it JDI. So judgment, drive, influence. But the one that has now emerged is what we are calling learning agility. And I've had learning agility used severally, but it has 5 components. The first is about mental agility. And mental agility is about curiosity. It's about what Melvin was. We were having bits, and there's a cameraman, I can't see him. And he's like, can I have a moment with you? That's curiosity. So mental curiosity is one part of learning agility. The second is results agility. And results agility is people who go over and above, deliver consistently without failing. The third is change agility. People who can survive in a VUCA world, so volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. The fourth is about people agility. People who can get along with anybody at any level. You don't have to look for my badge to engage with me. That's a problem we have. We rate people by who are you, not how do I connect with you. And that profiling is what you find most people fail miserably. Underpinning mental agility, results agility, change agility, people agility is self-awareness and self-management. That is emotional intelligence. When I give my lectures, I talk about emotional intelligence is personal competence and social competence. Personal competence is self-awareness and self-management. Social competence is knowing others and managing others. Thank you.
I think you can clap for him. Maybe we'll take one more, and before... Two more. So, and... Yes, and what Paul has described, we've actually set up our booth. So after this session, please visit our booth, because that's where we're going to expound much more on what Paul has touched on. And we'd like to engage you, even including in follow-ups from here. So let's have one more. Yeah. Let's have the mic there. Where's the microphone? So what we'll do, we'll just take all 3 questions and then we wrap it up from there.
Okay, thank you. My name is Grace Kamau, and I'm a 3rd-year student of petroleum engineering at the University of Nairobi. My question is very simple. As you mentioned, some of your competitors are setting up base literally opposite you. And Nairobi is a silicon savannah. It's the growing African silicon savannah. So what is stopping industries such like Safaricom and companies as yourself from not demanding perhaps a degree or any form of qualification to hire students, or to hire, let me say, young people? Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Teresia Karimi. I'm a geologist from Chiromo, also debate president, University of Nairobi. And my question is, how are you creating safe spaces in order to reach out to different youths out here for them to secure employment? Are you like looking for people to employ in terms of their field of study? Because I'm a scientist, but I do well in corporate communication. So how do we go about that? Thank you.
Let's take the last one.
The last one? Yeah.
Hi guys, I'm not a student, but I feel like I need to speak on their behalf. My name is Samuel Kamochu. I'm a software engineer and a telecoms engineer too. Used to work in Safaricom. I think the conversations that have been held today have been very exciting, and I see an opportunity. I know George here, Angela from KCB, and even the faculty members, we all know that you guys have a demand that you cannot meet. And Paul, I know you agree with me. There are many things that you'd like to do in Safaricom, but you cannot meet the demand. And I'm seeing young guys here who are looking for something to do. I know there is mindset, tool set, skill set, but it will only work if you give them a platform to come and work on those things. Because if you allow them to work on ideas and they struggle with commercialization, then that pulls them back. But if they come and fix that issue in KCB, and all you're trying to do is to train them on delivery, I believe that could work. Probably I would like you to comment on this.
And I agree with you, but they need to be present, not absent. So you see people present, I see some empty seats. So I have the mic. So what I will say is, you're absolutely right. What I see is, again, the partnership. An opportunity like this is one. This hall should be to the brim. Why? We have big brains here. So if they can't trust their DVC, who am I to speak? I don't know, the Bible was quoted earlier on. So if they can't listen to the prophets, how will they listen to anybody else? Because we are saying we have created that opportunity. But there's also the other bigger piece. I didn't say this, but the future of work is what I call WWW. Work has changed. Workplace has become a workspace, and the workforce has been transformed. So there are gig workers who we work with. What I didn't tell you is that out of the 6,000 we have, George will tell you, we have another, perhaps a third of that working independently. People come as agency workers, we partner with them, some convert later to be our employees, but we grow them. I think we are telling the stories, but I don't think people are hearing as hard. And when you get a mic, then look at the opportunity. I normally say, look at what is missing, not what is wrong. So I would say absolutely right. A geologist can still work as a data scientist. That has been proven. I remember 30 years ago, I was managing graduate trainees at Barclays. And I got one chap who was an aeronautical engineer, master's from Cranfield. And I asked him, what the hell are you doing here? And he said, you know what? I'm passionate about banking. I want to be here. And I said, when I give people career advice, I say, follow two criteria. One, what are you passionate about? Two, what are you good at? Where those two meet, you have a perfect bit. 15, 20 years later, he knocked at Kenya Airways, and he became one of our fleet managers, and he was now using his banking skills and his training to become something bigger. We don't necessarily insist on degrees now. You ask the question and somebody's distracting you, and I'm answering you now. So what we have done is, when you look at the skills I call out, we have taken 30 machine learning graduates, IoT, which is Internet of Things, and the cloud, the computing. We don't ask for a degree. We put you through, first we do hours online, and then later you're given tasks to complete. If you do it, we employ you. Again, experience can be gotten from anywhere. Look for it, including church, including in your home, including appearing for events like this. Thank you, and do have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Paul. A big hand for Paul. You can take your seat. So you can allow George to tackle one question on competitors. Where's the mic on the ground? Yeah, just give George before we wrap up this session.
Good, thank you. I think it's fantastic, and I think Tony will agree that we have competitors coming. But I think it will not add value. I'll speak authentically. If competitors are coming to take from KCB, Safaricom, that's not what it's about. We have too many people unemployed. And unfortunately, some of the big companies come and they're just poaching around from startups, I think what we need to do is to expand the job market. So even as competitors come, how are we working then with universities, with other institutions, as you've spoken about? And we will give, I commit, had people making commitments, and Professor is still on our board. We will give you the environments to experiment. But as Paul said, I think it's important to be present. And we will work with your universities, with Kenya and others, to actually give you that space. We need insights on data science. It will not come from our 100 data scientists alone. It will come through research. It will come through you and how you apply. The winning team in our just completed FinTech Innovation Week was interns. And they won a trip to Dubai and some money. Some of them didn't even have a passport. But as we sat and judged with Paul and others, we're like, we need more of this. What had we given them? We had given them the platform. We had given them a broad brief of challenges. And they've come up with a product that you will be soon seeing on the Safaricom app and M-Pesa app, interns. Now, if a group of 6 interns can do that, what can we do if we talk about 100,000, 600,000 people doing it? So I think as Safaricom, we are a local company, and we are here to stay. So we are going to create the platforms, we're going to have the partnerships, and we're going to also give you the problems and the opportunities to participate in transforming lives in this country. Thank you.
Thanks, George. A hand for him. So I'd like to close this morning session. It's been an engaging session right from the time we started. I think on the last piece where we are talking about the digital skills. Now, I'll connect it with innovation. Innovation, usually there's a phrase, innovation could take you where you've never been before. While I appreciate there is the organic transformation, which means, let's say if you walk barefoot, you invent a shoe, you're still walking. There's also what you call adjacencies, where you can now start doing a flying car or a drone and you hang to it and you move to it. But there's a transformational piece, which is what you can say, what we do not know. Do we know if you could plant maize or anything in mass in the next 30 years? Now, innovation spans all those particular facets. And when you talk about skills like Internet of Things, well, what's the next thing after Internet of Things? It's something called Internet of Everything. Maybe after that, there'll be Internet of Nothing, who knows? But that space is actually up for grabs for someone who can stay behind and innovate. And that's what we are coming to do this week. I know Dr. Tony spoke a lot about commercialization. We need to take those products to the market. But ultimately, the mindset, the same one that gives you perhaps the platform to come and work for a company like Safaricom, it's the same mindset that will help you to transform the rest of Africa. So it's been an amazing session, and we'll break for lunch now. We'll be coming back at 2:30. So at 2:30, we have exciting masterclass sessions. So what we've said for this Innovation Week, we want to do more of the masterclasses so that we can impart knowledge, real actionable knowledge. And if you have time, we have innovators across in the new building, seated on 4th floor, and they are hacking on real ideas. And there is a small incentive you are giving them, but I think the message is, what challenge, what problem are you solving, as was said earlier on? So the first masterclass will be on fintech and investments for SME and innovators by Robert Abojani. That will start at 2:30. So this will help us to see how do you handle finances as an SME and an innovator. How do you move towards commercialization of the idea? Then Samuel Kamochu, he's actually right here with us. He'll be talking to us from 3:30 about startups and local technology industries. We can actually start manufacturing the Internet of Everything in Kenya. When you talk about wearables, so I do have my phone here, but the future really is wearable tech, which means even my coat here becomes my working tool, because It's a wearable. I can get my information, I can communicate with the outside world. I can have some Googles that immediately connect me to my work environment, and I can be here physically present, but virtually managing the whole world. We could create the metaverse, and those are the things Samuel Kamochu will be telling us through an exciting program he'll be running. And throughout the week, even tomorrow, we'll have more masterclasses. We'll have one talking about big data and AI. There's one tomorrow which will be talking about academia research. Then on the final day, we'll be celebrating the team that has been hacking. I understand there are 3 particular cohorts. That's the students, faculty, and also now the team participating in the hackathon, including external members. So exciting and looking forward. Thank you. I'll hand back to Prof. Kinoti to allow us to go for lunch. Thank you.
Yeah, let's appreciate Andrew again. Yeah, I wanted him to tell us what is in the afternoon, and I want to particularly appeal to the students. The kind of guest speakers we have brought are from the industry, so that they can engage academia, that is the students, with what is actually happening in the industry. So the master classes that we have actually lined up for you will be exciting, driven by the industry. What we are saying, we want to cross this gap between academia and the industry, so that when we churn out our graduates, the industry have open arms to receive our graduates directly for employment without having again to go and invest a lot of money to skill them again. And that's why with Safaricom, I'll tell you, University of Nairobi is a big brand. We have partnered with another big brand, Safaricom. If I ask the young student here where they want to work in the future, I ask that always in my class, and the first corporate organization, especially in Kenya, they would like to work for is Safaricom. Other names comes up, Coca-Cola. The journey of partnering with the industry, and particularly with the big brand, have started here. We are also saying we are going to retool our curriculum. We will be collaborating with them to bring in those, those industry wisdom and nuggets, which probably academia, when we teach you straight, we may not be knowing what is happening directly in the industry, to connect ourselves with the industry. I want, it's already this afternoon, to thank you most sincerely for your patience, but you don't want to miss the master class this afternoon. As we break for lunch, let's craft for ourselves for a job well done. Thank you. And now we can go for lunch and join again here, 2:30. You don't want to miss those master class from the industry. Thank you.